paradigms for societal transformation. It encourages us as readers to venture beyond our comfort zones, embracing stories that challenge preconceived notions and expand our worldview. Through diversifying our bookshelves and reading lists, we encounter voices that have been marginalised or silenced, historically less published or even banned. Books amplify the richness and complexity of our world. They reflect a spectrum of identities, cultures, and experiences beyond our own, and encourage us to cultivate empathy, compassion, and a deeper appreciation for the wider world we are a part of. In short, they have the power to help us and change us in myriad ways. All of this is why bibliotherapy is such a delightful and exciting practice to me. The idea that we can prescribe ourselves and others books precisely fitting to their circumstances and emotions, and feel all the better for it. It's much more than an evangelical thrusting of a bestseller at someone, saying, "I read this in one sitting, you've got to read it." It is the carefully curated art of recommending the right reads for the right time. Beyond this, reading is how we understand and make sense of the world. Whether we read online, the newspaper, books, columns, poetry, it is the way we absorb life. In ever-changing and anxious times, reading gives us a great deal of power in choosing and constructing the kind of world we live in. And in turn, this enhances the person we become, because as we absorb new novels and stories, we are forever changed. This book is an invitation to look introspectively at where you are in life, where your head is at, and what you're feeling, and allow yourself to be guided to a book that will be a perfect fit for what you need. I like to compare the feeling of DNFing, did not finish, a book, to being rather like impulsively buying a pair of trendy shoes. Grabbing a paperback in the supermarket for a light read is often a perfectly fine way to find your next book. Everyone's been talking about this one, so why do you find yourself unable to read more than a few pages at a time before mentally checking out? It sits uncomfortably on your bedside table for weeks, then months, before you forget the plot entirely and leave it to gather dust. Much like grabbing a pair of shoes because they're on trend and on sale, but a size too small, so then inevitably getting a blister and you never wear them ever again. The book was just not the right fit for you. Bibliotherapy is the antidote to this, and it means you'll never have to DNF a book again. You'll find the right one for you, always, and discover new authors and stories to pursue on the journey. The practice of bibliotherapy has been around as long as storytelling itself, but the first literary mention of it was in an article written in 1916 in the Atlantic Monthly, a literary clinic, which described bibliotherapy as a new science. The writer described, "A book may be a stimulant or a sedative or an irritant or a soporific. The point is that it must do something to you, and you ought to know what it is. A book may be of the nature of a soothing syrup, or it may be of the nature of a mustard plaster. In short, books comfort and heal. We can trace bibliotherapy all the way back to the ancient Greeks, who inscribed above the entrance to a library in Thebes that this was a healing place for the soul. The ancient Greeks were the purveyors of using bibliotherapy by putting hospitals next to theatres so that patients could be cured by the art as much as the medicine. The benefits now are still the same, but severely underrated and less a part of our lives than it was for the Greeks, which I take issue with. After World War I, soldiers returning home from the front were often prescribed a course of reading. Librarians were given training on how to give books to these soldiers, and there's a heartwarming story about Jane Austen's novels being used for bibliotherapeutic purposes. Bibliotherapy went on to be used in hospitals and libraries, and has more recently been taken up by psychologists, social workers, and doctors as a unique mode of therapy.